Basic structure. Structure and movement. There are many things that the beginning student must know, and quite often, unfortunately, he or she is not told these things. Almost always what the student gets are a bunch of classic sayings with no explanation to those sayings. Because they've come from the Chinese translations, they really mean little or nothing to Westerners. So you really have to have them explained physically about what your body should be doing when you're practicing your Tai Chi in order to get the most out of it, in order to get all of those great and wonderful things that we are told that we should be getting from our Tai Chi. The first area, this really pertains to your practice of your basic form, but it also pertains to your practicing of your Qigong and any other internal martial art that you might be practicing. First most important thing is that all of the movement must begin and finish at the same time, without breaks. The classics tell us this. However, they don't tell us how to do it. For instance, if you're doing a movement with your hands and a weight change, which there should be, that's another classic saying, that there's got to be weight change with everything you do, and if there isn't, then it's wrong. Quite often beginners have to be taught incorrectly in order to later learn it correctly, because it's just too much in the beginning. There's so much to Tai Chi, and as I keep telling people, Tai Chi is difficult. It's not easy, and it never gets easy. It shouldn't be easy. Otherwise, you don't get any benefit from it. It is difficult. So, changing the weight, for instance, you might be doing a movement like single whip, and your weight changes from your right leg, rightly so, to your left leg. But I'll do it incorrectly first, which is the way most people do it, or they don't even do it that okay. You see how the weight changed, and then there was still some movement after the weight change. This is incorrect. All the movement should start and stop at the same time with the weight change. So that movement should be see how there was no more hand movement, no more body movement after the weight had fully gotten into the single whip stance, which is not a bow stance, by the way. It's the width of the foot less and slight, so therefore it can be slightly longer. That's another part of your structure and movement. So that's the most important thing, is that everything must start and stop at exactly the same time. This is one of the things that I see people doing all over the world. For instance, parting horse's mane. They'll keep going. That movement should have been finish when the weight stops moving. And this happens all the way through the form. People often ask me about the movements like fishes in 8. This movement here in your basic form. Okay, here, sit back ready, the weight is on the left heel, for instance. There's body movement, but there seems to be no weight change, does there? Here, of course, there's weight change to the other foot. But the first movement, there seems to be only waist movement and no weight change. But there is weight change. Take a closer look at what the foot, for instance, the left foot, is doing. I'll try and exaggerate it for you so that you can see what the left foot is doing. As I start my hands moving out to the left and twisting my waist around, the weight starts on your left heel And as it comes around, you'll notice that the weight moves to the ball slowly over the whole stroke of that movement to the ball of the left foot. Now you see, the weight is actually, although the heel doesn't look like it, the weight is actually on the ball of the left foot now. And of course the movement keeps happening, so as it keeps happening in that circular motion, the weight will now, as the hands come into your chest, the weight will now change slowly to the heel of the left foot, and then begin to change over to the heel of the right foot and finish. Okay, now in long shot, another thing that people get, this is getting back to the movement starts and stops at the same time. This is one of the areas that I have great difficulty in showing people, because I've even seen great grand masters doing this with this particular movement. I mention this because I'm talking about this particular movement. They get to here, first of all they don't change their weight anyway, they're only on the heel. Then they'll change their weight, stop, and then push out to the right. Well, there's no weight change there, you see. I have finished that movement. When the weight changes, the rule is the movement has finished. So if I go like this, I can't do this next move because that particular movement has finished. I left my hands behind. So from here, you should have your weight on the ball of your foot anyway, but as it changes to your left foot, then the hands come in. Now the weight passes through double weightedness, and it keeps moving over to the right heel, da 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 da, stop. That's when your hands stop moving. That's when your waist stops turning. That's when your weight stops moving over to the right heel when it gets to here. Another huge mistake that people tend to make, and I've seen grand masters teaching Taiji in this manner, and I'll use brush knee twist step to demonstrate this. The classics say that there must always be yin and yang. Now they go no further than that. So you need an explanation as to what that actually means. It means that the hands too should be changing from yin to yang over the stroke of the whole movement. So to demonstrate this, I'll demonstrate stork spreads wings into, I'm using Yang Ching Fu's form here because that's the one that most people start with rather than the old Yang style, which is more difficult still. Now what most people tend to do here, sure, they get to hold the ball here, but now they'll go, I'm making two mistakes here. A, I've left my center behind, I've stepped, and my wrist is still out here. The wrists are an integral part of your center. And B, this hand has changed from yin to yang, so no sense in carrying on with that move. I've done that move. That's it. I haven't even finished the move, but I've actually finished it because I've released the yang energy that's stored in that hand. Structure of movement, a yin hand, the beautiful hand, is full with yang energy. The only work it can really do is to release that yang energy. Thus, bah! A yang hand is filled up with yin energy. So that's a yang-shaped hand. The only real work that it can do is bah! To release that yin energy. And now it's changed. So the energy keeps changing all the time. So when we do brush knee twist step, if this right hand here, which is the doing hand, first, this is your saving hand here, this is the doing hand. I'll get on to how the hand should move in a minute in that particular posture. However, if the right hand then were to release that energy, the movement is finished. It should release the energy see how the left hand is still releasing energy